What's going on, everybody? Dave Swift here from ClientAmp.com, and this is That LTD Life, the show where I review the best and the worst lifetime deals on the internet. Today, we're looking at a new deal that just hit AppSumo called Layerpath. This is for customer onboarding. So if you're trying to demonstrate how to do something inside of an application, you want to put together one of those nice tutorials, kind of guide people through clicking things. My belief is that Layerpath could be an option for you. We're going to test it together inside of this video. You can see it's currently available on AppSumo for just $49. I do think that is a temporary price. You can see they have a AppSumo Plus exclusive right now. It's just lasting another 46 hours as of the recording of this video. So in 2 days, the price will increase slightly. The lifetime deal will still be available, but I think it's probably going to be $59 as the lowest plan instead of $49. So I'm going to get in while the getting is good, so to speak. We can see the different plans they have available to us. There's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Looks like most of the features are kind of pushed over to tier 3. Let's go through this and break it down, figure out what is the right plan for you, and then we'll demo the software. So with tier 1, we're going to get 100 video export credits per month. We'll get 1,000 AI content credits per month and 100 voiceover credits per month. What does that mean? I'm not sure exactly, but we do know we can export videos, we can use AI content, and we can use voiceovers, which I assume are going to be automatically generated for us. With tier 2, we get all of that, but now our limits have increased to 300, 5,000, and 400. So pretty significant increase there, at least threefold for each of those three features. And then we get a whole host of new features: video editing, playlists, advanced branching, which I assume will be if someone clicks one thing, then they get to go to another path or something like that to show a different part of the video. And we also get permissions and analytics. Don't know what the permissions are for. We're going to investigate that as we go through the product. Finally, there is tier 3. If you want to spend a lot of money on this tool, you certainly can do that. You can see our limits have gone up significantly again to 1,000, 15,000, and 2,000 credits respectively for exports, AI content, and voiceovers. Then we get all of the features we just mentioned, plus 5 more features. You can now redact and blur sensitive information. I don't really know why that is held to the highest tier. That seems like a pretty basic feature that everyone will probably want. 3D effects and animations, that's cool. User collaboration, workspace access, and a custom domain. Very often that custom domain is withheld for the highest tier, but some of those other things I think probably deserve to be in at least tier 2. This is a very, very tilted, more so than many other AppSumo deals, where all of the good stuff is just pumped into tier 3. So, if you're really going to go in on this, if it seems like it's a good fit for you, probably heading towards tier 3 is the best place. But $260 is a significant investment, so we'll have to see if it holds water. All right, so I'm going to grab tier 3 here, and let's go ahead and try this out. Notice that I'm an AppSumo Plus member, so not only do I get the discount on the overall pricing, I still get my Plus savings. In this case, 10% of $259 is $25.90. So overall, I'm looking at $233 for lifetime access here. Let's proceed to our checkout, and let's just go through their sign-up flow real quick. Enter my email. All right, I've confirmed everything via email, and I'm now logged into Layerpath. So let's go ahead and check this out. First thing, it takes me to the settings page where I can see my plan and billing. I'm currently on tier 3, and I get a nice breakdown here of what's included. I actually kind of like when they do this. It doesn't necessarily need to default me here, but I like when it's available to show me all of my, my limits and everything that's included in the plan. I don't have to go back and check AppSumo like, oh, do I get 2 or 3 of these? Do I get 4 or 5 of these? I can't quite remember. So nice that they include that right there. Hopefully that's there for the long term. If you're nervous about that sort of thing, definitely screenshot it just so that you have a record of what you've actually paid for. Because sometimes those AppSumo deal pages, they go away or they change the limits. So it's always good to see what the deal was when you purchased it. All right, so let's head out to the dashboard here. See, I've got no projects currently. And if I create a new project, I assume it's going to take me into this My Project screen. Then I've got my playlist here, a brand kit, and a settings page. So let's dig through this. We'll start off by going to My Projects and creating a brand new project. All right, so to get started with my project, I can either upload a video that already exists in my library, which obviously I don't have any of those, I've just signed up. I can also upload a video from my computer, or I can record with their extension. So if I click over to the record with my extension, it shows me that I need to be using Chrome in order to use their extension. So I'm gonna have to switch over to the Chrome browser and we're gonna record a video demo. All right, I've just installed the extension to Arc and it says I am now set. Let's hit get started. I'm gonna need to log in to this computer as well, or excuse me, to this browser as well. No passwords here. It's all done with that magic link via email. All right, so let's create a demo. I've got a WordPress website up here, and let's say I'm either a product creator, I've a WordPress plugin I want to create a demonstration for, or maybe I just manage a website for a client and I want to teach them how to do something on their website. There's lots of use cases here. Let's go ahead and create a tutorial maybe on how to change the name of your website. You can see up here it says demo. Let's say I wanted to change that and I'm a client. I ask for help and then I'm provided a nice tutorial on exactly what to do. So to start recording here, I'm going to open up the LayerPath extension, which I have an Arc right up here. I'll click that and then choose start recording. And now I'm going to follow all of the steps necessary to change the name of my website. So the first thing I'm going to do is click up into the dashboard here to visit the WordPress administration section. Then the next thing I'm going to do is go down to settings and choose general. From here, I'll see something that says site title, and I can update this. This will update the title of my site across all of WordPress, and I'll say my great site. That is the new title of my website. I'm going to go ahead, scroll down to the bottom, making sure to save my changes. And now I have concluded the recording of my demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording inside of the LayerPath extension. So I'll click here once again. It is capturing all of the images and video that was captured, and I've got a tour that I can now watch. So let's launch this tour and see how good of a job it does without any editing at all. Of course, there is an editor, so if it falls flat on its face, not all is lost. All right, so I've got a little step-by-step guide here. It says navigate to the dashboard. I'm already on step 2 of 7. So if I go back, this is step 1 right here. That's a little, and I don't know, counterintuitive to me. It would feel like step 1 should definitely be the first step that I see, but we'll proceed here. It says navigate to the dashboard. That is correct. Then it says navigate to general. Maybe would like it to mention that this is located under settings. So perhaps I need to edit that. But we'll proceed here. Enter in the value demo. I didn't enter in the value demo, so I'll definitely need to be editing that. And then that's it. My demo just ends there. Oh, looks like it's playing back. So this is actually a video showing me exactly what I did. All right, that was a long delay, probably because I was talking. All right, it says enter the value, save changes, where I prefer it says click save changes. And then it says excited by what you saw in our demo, try it for yourself. Replay the tour. All right, let's get into the editor and see how nice we can make this. Oh, actually, before we do that, this was called the tour. We've also got the guide, which is a little bit different view. This is kind of cool. I like this. So I've got navigate to dashboard, navigate to general. This is a much more intuitive user interface for me. I have not really seen this look before, but I like it a lot. Enter the value, save changes, and then enter the value, save changes. So I need to edit those titles, but otherwise they're not bad. All right, then there's the full video recording of everything that I did. Notice it grabbed just the window and it's cropped out with a nice background. We've got some 3D effects there. That was what I paid for to go up to tier 3. A little bit much in my opinion. Let's see if it does it again. It zooms in when I click. It's a very fast zoom in, zoom out, kind of reminiscent of Focusy, another video that I recently released. I prefer another tool called Screen Studio when it comes to those type of effects, but if we could just hold those zooms a little bit longer, they'd be less jarring. All right, so you get a nice little video of everything I did in terms of creating that little tutorial, 45 seconds worth. All right, cool. I can download it right here or open it up in the editor. I'm not sure it matters if I have one of these selected or not before opening it up, but let's try it. I want to edit the tour first, so it definitely might matter. There's analytics right here. The menu options change for sure. All right, so it looks very much like you're editing like a PowerPoint or a keynote presentation where I've got my slides over here on the left, and then I can just edit things on the screen here. So I can title this, how to change your WP site title. And I can change my font here. That's really nice. We've got some Google fonts to choose from. Not a huge selection, but some of the more popular ones. We've got Inter, Roboto, definitely the ones that you see most people using, Montserrat. I'm gonna stick with Inter for now. I can even change the style of the buttons. in terms of the language, their look. Definitely gonna do that. I'll call this watch now. I'll give the background color, how about a orange look? And then for each button that's been added, you can see like this is button 1. I have a destination, and the destination is the next slide. So if I would like, I can link off to an external link. I can add multiple buttons in if I want to have one to, let's say, watch now or buy now. I could do that. I could say buy now and then add in the destination of mysite.com so that someone could, oh, I really like this. I'm ready to buy. Here, go to mysite.com and I can make a purchase. Now, I did see at the beginning of this video that there is a branding kind of center where you can upload your brand identity. And I'm hoping that will create some presets here because you can see everything's defaulting to kind of this greenish color. So I would probably want to change that so I'm not updating every single time I add a button or every single time I create a new video. I've got to update my colors. You can change the corner radius and the font for your buttons, and that is a universal setting for this entire slide, not for the entire video, but let's say I chose rounded. Now it's a more circular, or none, and now I've got square buttons. It would be nice to have some other typography options, like maybe just make this a little bit heavier font weight so that I could do, instead of like normal size, maybe 600, just make it pop out a little bit more, but overall it's just fine. I can stack my buttons if I like, or make them side to side. All right, as we get into each of the slides over here, I can go ahead and update the copy. So I could say, visit the WordPress admin area by clicking dashboard. I can change the color of my tooltip if I'd like, which is very, very nice because I was not digging that original color. There, we'll go for kind of a dark mode look, and there is a button here to apply to all layers. So I'm gonna turn that on. And I've got two different styles of my tooltip. So here is the first style, which is kind of more of a traditional, the actual place to click is blinking. And then if I choose the other style, it's going to give it a more like spotlighted look where everything is faded out in the background and the actual action is the only thing that is a nice bright visual. I can turn on and off whether I want the tooltip to be displayed by default. So when I click that, it went away. But now as I click it again, it's not coming back. So hopefully I haven't broken anything. The toggle switch is not working. It looks like it doesn't ever turn off. It just made the tooltip disappear. I can change the position of the tooltip. So I can put it on the top, the left, the right, or the bottom. However, it's not previewing for us now. So maybe I'll click to a different tooltip and then come back here. No, that one's still not working, but my open by default switch is now off. So let's turn that back on and now we can experience it. We can do auto, top, left, which was auto, right isn't an option, and bottom is the same as top. So it really only makes sense in two different positions in this particular slide. So that's cool with me. The destination is going to be the next slide. However, I could change it to be any slide that I like. I'm not sure why you'd override that, but you do have the options there. All right, so I'm gonna go through and just update this presentation to get all of the text exactly as I want it. And then we'll experiment with some of the AI features to do things like add in a narrator and things like that. So we'll see what else there is to offer. Give me 1 second as I update this project. All right, so I've made all the updates that I want. However, I want to point out something here. I was looking mostly at screenshots, and you can see that these are images right here. However, if you remember as we watched the tutorial back, this item right here is actually a video, and it's kind of a lengthy video. So I can either trim this up by maybe dragging it over to when I actually start typing, or I can just remove this slide altogether by clicking on the triple dots and choosing delete. Now, I want to point out there's some other controls over here that are very, very simple. So I can just reorder these by clicking and dragging on the little arrow section up here at the top that allows me to move these anywhere. I'm going to end up just removing this layer completely, or this slide as I would refer to it. In fact, now they're calling it a slide. Sometimes it's a layer, sometimes it's a slide. I would look out for those little inconsistencies in user experience, because if it's a layer, call it a layer. If it's a slide, call it a slide, so that we're talking about the same thing. I can add in additional items here if maybe I want to upload something separately and interject it into my video. That's a really nice feature. I can just upload it either from my computer, or maybe I have something already uploaded in my library. I'm not going to do that for now, so we'll just kind of skip out of that. And now let's check out some of the other features here on the right-hand sidebar. So we were looking at the design palette before. That's where we set up our tooltip and everything. If we go down to the next section, it's for layout. And so this is essentially the positioning of everything. You can see I can toggle through some different options here. Basically, whether the tooltips show up inside of the actual slide or if they're off to the side, giving you the directions. So that's kind of nice. I like these different layouts. They're done fairly well, very clear and communicative, which is exactly what you want when you're doing a tutorial. So there are a few more layout options here. We've got fit and cover, which is to allow us to align our image to fit within the frame. Now, my frame was recorded at a 16:9 format, so I'm not really noticing any difference as I switch through these. In fact, all of the layouts, it seems to look identical. And the same thing goes for the alignment. As I move these through, I'm not really noticing any change at all on any of them. So I'm not sure if that is more of a problem with the actual tool or if my image is just kind of the right size for the video. So maybe someone else can experiment and let me know what you discover there. We can change the background. They've got a few different gradients. However, it's not changing this background. It's changing the background of when the image is actually framed, which it was a little bit surprising to me. I have not actually seen how to remove this green color yet, but I'm certain I will find a way. These gradients look fairly nice. I think it would look good if I was able to make that more of a full screen view. I will point out that these layout changes are on a slide by slide basis. So for example, slide 5 here, I've given this gradient background. If I go up to slide 2, it's got a different gradient background, or maybe it's the same, but I can make a different layout here. This one has a different background. Maybe I want to have this show the directions on the bottom. So this is kind of nice because then your entire video is not very monotonous. You can have a tooltip show up when it's important. You can have some text show up on the bottom and a lower third if it's, more conducive to the video that you're making. Go back to the tooltip on the next step. So yeah, a lot of flexibility here, whereas most tools will kind of just stick with, here's how we do things. This is the tooltip, and they're all going to look exactly the same. So pretty impressed here with a lot of different editing flexibility built right in. Okay, let's finish up with this right-hand sidebar here. Just a few more options. We've looked at design, we've looked at layout. Next up is voiceover. I'm gonna leave this one as is right now. I can input some text and then choose one of their narrators, and there's some little demos to actually go ahead and do a voiceover for me. There is no way to manually record your own voiceover that I have seen. A little bit disappointing, especially if you're maybe a content creator and you wanna put your own brand, your own voice on things. Pretty soon the world might be a pretty bleak place if we're all relying on robots essentially to do all of our voice communication for us, just getting things sent directly to our ears and eyeballs versus via earbuds and headsets. But I digress. The option here is cool to use AI voiceovers. However, I'm going to skip it because I can do the entire project, I believe, with this Enhance with AI button. So we'll check that out next after we finish this right-hand sidebar. There's an option here to hide a slide. So if I click that, you can see that the layer is now hidden. I'll turn that back on. We've got some settings on each slide, which, looks like the background color is here. All right, great. I knew we'd find a way. So I can do gradients, abstract, and immediately that looks just 1,000 times better to me. Just choosing something a little bit more artistic, maybe not too bright so it doesn't distract from the information, but definitely feels more pro than just that kind of, greenish color that it gave us by default. However, if you want to choose a solid color, maybe for your brand or, just you want black or white in the background, you can definitely do that as well. I mean, personally, if I'm really trying to learn something, I don't need a lot of colorful backgrounds. A nice gray background is probably going to do the trick. Interestingly, these settings apply to the entire project. So I'd almost like that to be organized a little bit differently, where these are all on a slide by slide basis, but this one right here is applying to the entire project. So, it's just something to keep in mind. It's not like organized in a way that necessarily is very intuitive. So the settings here are fairly thorough. I mean, there's quite a few of them, right? So we can show our navigation, turn that on and off. This just adds a little timeline down here, kind of like you see on YouTube chapters where you could click around to the different slides. You can toggle on and off a browser skin. So if you are not recording a browser, but maybe a desktop app, you'll want to turn that off. However, having it on makes it just a little bit nicer. You can kind of, I'm using a browser here. You can see it very clearly. You may have noticed this kind of gets outside of our general settings, but you may have noticed in that browser skin, we get the title of the video we're working on. We can rename that up here. So I'll change it to be changing your WordPress site name, hit return here. And now if I reload the page, you can see that that has been updated to changing your WordPress site name. And perhaps I could have clicked to reload there, and I could have. I didn't necessarily need to reload manually, but same results. So let's go ahead and proceed through the rest of the settings. Over here, we've got our enable pan and zoom. So by turning that on, it's going to add some panning and zooming throughout the tour. I've turned it on. Let's go ahead and see what it did. Let's watch the presentation. You can see it just zoomed in right there. Let's go back and see that slide again. There, a little zoom in, a little pan down. We've got our table of contents down here. I do have their logo showing up, and I think it might be blocking the next button. So that's a little bit weird. I can't see how to proceed to the next slide here in the playback. So a little concerning. I can go use right arrow to proceed. So the tooltips have the button up at the top, but I probably need to find a way to turn off that branding if it's possible. But just to see the rest of the animations, I think it's actually done fairly nicely. Nice cropping, nice animations, very, very beautiful. If I were a product creator or trying to create training for clients, I think this would be a very, very solid option. So just to demonstrate here, I can see that button. However, previously, I think when I was on the third slide right here, that button is now covered up by that logo. So I just have to like barely, okay, I can get to it. Oh, no, I went to their product page. All right, a few more settings to check out. We've got tooltip settings, show arrows, show tooltip. I've got those turned on. And then hotspot settings, we can choose the hotspot transparency. Use this slider to adjust the hotspot transparency. I'm gonna set the transparency to be about 50%, and then we'll preview this. So this is the hotspot right here. So that's showing me where to click. By setting it to 50%, it's just a little bit more transparent. I can see the text underneath. And then finally, we've got the transition timer, which is giving us a little preview here. Basically, it's a bar that shows up at the bottom of the tour, displaying the current slide. I can set it to the slowest setting, which is 1 second, or the fastest setting, which is 0.3 seconds. Very, very quick here. We can preview that in the playback as well. I'm not actually noticing the timer that was mentioned, so maybe this is something that I need to turn on altogether. But otherwise, I was expecting to see maybe it moving automatically through the slides, but I'm controlling this with my key commands. And if I don't do anything, it's definitely just staying there. All right, our last option over here is the image editor, which is just gonna pop open the actual images that I've recorded, and then I can go ahead and maybe redact some information. This is what I was paying extra for, is the ability to redact things after I captured them, annotate on the screen, so I can draw an arrow if I like. This is, I actually know, well, this is the exact same image editor that's included with Ghost Pro. This is Pintura. They're using Pintura inside of the app, which is a pretty good image editor, to be honest. I like it a lot. So we can go ahead and resize, edit images, scale things, rotate them, add different filters, add stickers. It's a pretty full-featured image editor. So let's check it out. It's inside of Layerpath. So it looks like maybe they've removed some of the features here because, like I just showed you, there's not the ability to add stickers and things like that, but I can still draw shapes and change the fill color here, maybe make that transparent, add an outline. So it's actually, yeah, a decent image editor. I'm happy to see it's included. I don't really get why they've made redacting something that's like extra, because that's just false scarcity. I mean, it comes with the image editor. They're paying for the license. It's not an add-on inside of the license of the image editor. So yeah, it's just a way to get you to upgrade. Now, unfortunately, if I go from the tour view over to the guide view, all of the language that I used is not automatically carried over. So I actually have to go ahead and manually update everything. That is a little bit disappointing. Not that big of a deal, but I feel like there should be an option to just bring that information in. The guide editing is very, very similar. I can reorder my slides over here on the left. I can trash a slide if I like. I can go ahead and duplicate one, or right here, if I click, I can open it up in the image editor and do any sort of editing that I need. Modify the text right here. Way fewer options than the tour, but it's very, very similar. Once you've edited a tour, going over to the guide view will be very, very comfortable. All right, next we're gonna check out the Enhance with AI options before heading into the video editor. So first up here, hit Enhance with AI. I've got two options, AI content and AI voiceover. So let's start off with the AI content. This is going to be a product how-to, and I'm showing how to change the name of a WordPress website. All right, let's hit apply here. And it went through and updated all of the steps inside of my content. So I didn't need to actually do this. It says how to change the name of your WordPress website. Follow these steps to change the title of your WordPress website through the WordPress admin area. And I can click through the entire project, and everything already has Very, very nicely written titles here, far more professionally written than what I did kind of hastily at the beginning of this video. That's cool. That's really cool. I wonder if this carried over into the guide settings. That would be amazing. No, it didn't. So I'd have to do this individually over here. Now remember, I'm on tier 3, so I get 15,000 AI content credits per month. So how many content credits did it use when I went ahead and upgraded or had it update my existing video here? Let's find out. Let's go to home, and under plan and billing, it looks like I've used 1 out of 15,000 tokens. So doing that entire project just took a single token if I'm reading this correctly. Let's double check. So I'll go into the guide and I'll do the same thing here. I will have it update the AI content. Notice there's no voiceover for guides because voiceovers only make sense for the tours, since guides are just like basically a text document. You could put that in your help desk and that would look really nice. All right, so I've entered in a very similar description here. I'll hit apply, and this is updating the guide. I'll just be patient here. There's no indication that anything is actually happening. And that was a little bit jarring as I was doing the tour. I'm like, wait a minute, is it working? And then sure enough, it is updated. So here's all the text for this one. But very interestingly, this is not as good as the tour that I previously created. So it was definitely improving upon the content that I put in manually. So it's probably worthwhile to still take your time, go through and kind of basically describe what you're doing, and then upgrade the content. And it's essentially gonna rewrite your text a little bit more professionally. That's nice because you don't need to worry about things like grammar or being super precise with the description, knowing that the AI can kind of come in and polish things for you. Of course, always read this stuff, right? Because it's still AI, it's not gonna be perfect, and it might use language to describe things in a way that would be confusing to your users. So you'll want to go through and update this. But if it's gonna save a definite, if you're a copywriter, you should be scared of tools like this, where you can have a regular person go in and just kind of willy-nilly, basically describe things and then click a button and it looks like it was written by a technical copywriter with really, really precise verbiage. This one, not so much. It's basically just updating the description here. It didn't actually update the title of the slides at all. It did do things like indicate that you should go to settings and then hover over settings to reveal a drop-down menu. That's cool. It is definitely more detailed than I expected it to be. So this isn't terrible, but I would have liked to see it update the slide titles as well. Okay, next I'm gonna try the AI voiceover, but first, a quick check-in to see how my AI credits are doing. Did it use up 2 now? Let's head back over to settings, plan and billing. No, it's still stuck at 1. So I'm not entirely sure that this is, showing the exact usage. Honestly, with 15,000 credits monthly, I'm not too concerned, but if I had a tier 1 deal with 1,000 credits monthly, it might become a bigger concern. All right, back into our project, we're gonna check out the AI narration. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit this. I'll choose Enhance with AI, and this time I'm gonna go to the AI voiceover. I can choose one of the voices. There are some previews right here. All right, I will go with Roderick. I'm gonna use the same prompt that I used for the AI content, which is that it's a guide to show you how to rename your WordPress website, and I'll click Apply. Now, once again, no progress bar or anything to indicate that there is work in progress, but my assumption is that at some point here, it's probably gonna pop up and say, your narration is now available. There it is, content generated successfully. All right, so let's go ahead and just check out how good the AI narration is. I'm just gonna play this entire presentation from beginning to end. Let's open up the preview, and here we go.
Log in to your WordPress account and click on Dashboard. This guide will walk you through the step-by-step process of renaming your WordPress website. Follow these simple instructions to update your site title. Log in to your WordPress account and click on Dashboard to enter the WordPress admin area. From the left-hand sidebar, select Settings and then choose General from the drop-down menu. Click in the field labeled Site Title and enter your new desired website name. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click the Save Changes button to update your site title. Your WordPress site title has been successfully updated. If you wish to make further customizations to your site, Explore other settings in the WordPress admin area, or consider updating your meta descriptions and tags for better SEO.
All right, what's really cool about that narration is that in the intro and the outro, it didn't just stick to what was on the slide. It did read the tooltips, which is kind of what I'd hope it does. But on the intro and the outro, it had some text that was not included on the slide, meaning that it actually understands what's going on and it's writing content about the presentation on its own. What is not great is I don't know if I can edit that. Like at the end, it gave advice about updating your meta tags and your titles or something like that related to SEO. But if you don't have an SEO plugin installed, you can't actually do that in WordPress because it's not a built-in feature for some reason. So that might actually confuse users more. So hopefully they maybe in the future add a way to edit the actual copy produced by the narrator. However, for now, what you can do is just go in and slide by slide change that text. In fact, now that it's been generated, I wonder if I can do that. So here's that last slide. We'll go over to the voiceover section and you can, here it is. This is the voiceover text. Perfect. The feature already exists that I just asked for. So here where it's talking about updating your meta descriptions and tags for better SEO. I would remove that and, I could say like contact our support for other questions, or if you want to learn more, something like that. So very cool. AI narration is great. Would love to be able to record my own narration, but for now I will live with this. All right, we're going to check out the video editor next, and then we will look at sharing options because this is all great and dandy, but if you can't get this out to people, it's not worth a whole heck of a lot. So let's see what the video editing looks like. You can see there's basically 3 different slides over here. One is 2 seconds long. This one right here is the bulk of the presentation. It does not have a duration listed here. And then there's an outro, which is 2 seconds long. So we've got intro, video, outro, which is basically just copy here. I'm not sure why it has such a crazy amount of text on that last slide, but we'll look at how we can fix that in a moment. So from the left-hand sidebar, I've got slide 1 selected. And then on the right-hand side of my screen, there is a list of different menu options here. I've got adjust, layout, audio, effects, and finally AI, which will allow me to do an AI voiceover. So under adjust, there's a section that says logo, and then it's got some text, and that's the text you see on the screen. So I assume you could either just change this to be what you want. Maybe I'll call it like Client Amp, that's the name of the company, or I could upload our logo right here. So I've uploaded the logo. It's very, very small here. Let's go ahead and make it a lot bigger and maybe remove this text. Yeah, the logo is still super tiny, even though it's not that small. So I'm not sure why that is. It definitely seems like it could take up the same amount of space that the text was taking up. All right, I've just uploaded a square logo and that looks a lot better. However, it's still not like massive. I could see people wanting a bigger logo than that. All right, I added some text back in. It looks pretty good. So next up, we've got some formatting options where I can position the title at different spots inside of the slide here. I've got left, right, center, top, bottom, lots of different options. I think center probably looks best. We'll do center middle, and I could move the logo to the bottom of that if I'd like as well. And I assume, yeah, that persists on all of the different options. The next section is called title. That's where I can update the title right here. I can change the font size of that as well, and the color. We've got some effects here, so I can make it neon stripes, which is kind of just like a drop shadow, maybe like a striped drop shadow. We can have a slice through our text, clone, a little artistic here, maybe a bit busy for my taste. Let's turn these off, and we can animate it if we like as well. Here's a few different animations that are included. Here's the reveal, the zoom in, zoom out, and step up. All right, don't like that one very much as the text is pretty hard to read. Let's just stick with wave right here. Next up, there's a video description. Very similar features here as the title. We can change the font, adjust the size, and choose the color that we'd like. And it has effects and animation as well. So here is what everything looks like all together. A little bit much. Again, I'd love to have some font weights here. Looks like it's bold by default. Okay, so I can turn that down. Let's see what it looks like now. All right, that's decent if I, updated the copy there a little bit. So now let's get into actually editing the main presentation, because here is where a lot of the effects come in. So we've got our recording here on this track. Then we have a voiceover. Looks like we may be able to actually record a voiceover, or is that just going to be AI generated? Yeah, it's going to be AI generated, I think. So close. Just give me a record button. But here we can modify our zoom. So I can click here on the zoom, adjust the zoom level, animation extended. All right, so I've just extended this zoom. Let's go ahead and check this out. Notice at the same time there's a rotation happening, but I was a little unhappy with how quickly the zooms were coming in and going out. All right, still a bit fast for my taste. Let's watch that again. Yeah, I want it to kind of hold when it's there. So let's see if we drag this out a little bit. We probably want to match our rotation. Ooh, see, here's a problem is I accidentally moved that, but it doesn't snap. So there's no like easy way to get this to line up where I want it to be. I'll just kind of eyeball it and let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's definitely way better. So they need to change their default zoom length. Let's adjust this one on the fly here. Whoops, it skipped when I released the zoom. Play it again. There's no key commands here, so that's bothering me as someone who does a lot of video editing. Pressing the space bar does not start the playback. Okay, that is way better. Just extending the zoom by manually dragging it out makes the video so much easier to watch. You can see that one was just terrible, right? We need it at least a few, a half a second long to be able to actually process what's going on. Way better. All right, so I actually have a fair amount of effects going on over here on the left-hand sidebar. We've got our recording, we've got our voiceover, then there's zoom, rotation, blur, and highlighting. So let's add in a highlight. How do we do that? So I went to effects here, choose highlight, and it looks like it added that inside of actually the rotation section, which is a little bit weird. Okay, now it just clicked over and went to the highlight section. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and extend this. And here is the highlight. I can round the corners if I'd like. So this is gonna be kind of like a spotlight on a particular part of the content. And I can grab right here to be able to highlight. Let's say I want to highlight this image. I'll just extend it out. And we have lights, so I can turn everything else off, make the corners a little bit rounded, not too much. All right, that's a pretty nice feature. I like that. Let's see what it looks like. We'll rewind and hit play. All right, just turns it on and off. It's very kind of on off. It would be nice to have a fade or a fade out and just have maybe like a millisecond setting over here, do a nice 200 millisecond fade in, 200 millisecond fade out. Would look really good rather than just kind of like blink, blink, but you know, take what you can get. All right, now as I'm hovering over the timeline, this little plus button is showing up everywhere where I didn't see that before. So I could add a highlight just like this. I don't necessarily need to go to effects and add it that way, but if you want to, it's the same result. So do what is easiest for you. All right, so let's go ahead and just make sure we cover everything here. I'm on the video, I choose adjust, and I can actually tilt the video in one direction or another in 3D space. So this is pretty cool, but if I tilt it right here, it's gonna stay like this for the entire video as I kind of scroll through. The zooms will always return back to this view. So I would probably leave your main video at default, and you can always add in a rotation effect if you want to rotate things. So the rotation effect is going to go left, right, top, bottom. But there is the manual option as well. So that's cool. You can get it exactly positioned where you want it with just the right amount of X, Y, Z axis adjustments. All right, next let's head over to layout. Here are a bunch of different backgrounds we can add in. These look really great, especially if you're creating a promotional video for your product. It makes it really look futuristic and modern. I like these gradients. They look pretty good. Of course, you can also add in colors and abstract images, which we saw earlier when we were doing the tour setup. I'll zoom out here. You can see them in a little bit more context. All right, these all look very nice. And if you want to go with something more flat, you can do that as well. You notice the image actually has a border around it. They call that a stroke, and I can turn that on and off right here. And I've got a small, medium, and large selector. And I can also change that color based on RGB values. Why no hex code? I don't know. It would be nice to have that since most of the rest of the application allows for hex code editing, but it's not available here. There's a spacing option, so you can show more or less of that background. We're gonna see some more of those abstract looks. We can definitely do that and bring it in, bring it out, round the corners more or less, whatever your preference is. So maybe you want no stroke and add a drop shadow with no rounded corners. Really, really fast and easy to do these edits. All right, next up's our audio section. We can add some background music if we like. There's a few different options, but basically you're gonna be cycling through, 7 different options, or excuse me, 6 different options for your background. You can't actually add your own music as far as I can tell. It seems like that would be an easy upgrade for them. And then the effects section we've already looked at. So you can zoom, tilt, redact. Oh, maybe this is different than the actual Pintura option before. This may be the effect that we're paying for. Let's go ahead and redact something. So it adds a section over here where it says blur, and let's blur maybe her hands right here. There you go. That is now redacted. It'd be nice to have this in a little bit bigger of view because I'm really kind of guessing where it's going to end up. But there you go. I've blurred out a logo or something like that. Now, I don't believe that that would remain on that spot if the video were to be moving. So you can't like keyframe it in, I don't think. So just, know if you're actually having live video, a person talking, you want to blur out a logo on a hat or something, you'll need to do that in a professional editing tool. Okay, I'm generating a voiceover for this video as well so that we can see how it does captions, because I believe that is an effect you can add also. Here, at least we get a prompt that it is generating. So I'd love to see that on the other 2 options when I start generating some AI content. All right, so now I think I've generated a voiceover. I can generate some subtitles. All right, so my video is basically done. My AI voiceover has been generated and I added subtitles. Let's go ahead and check out what the finished product looks like. Now, keep in mind, I did not really dial in all of the zooms super precisely here, but you'll get a feel for what the product can do.
Begin by logging into your WordPress admin panel. Once logged in, click on the dashboard link to access the main dashboard area. In the dashboard, locate and click on the General link. This will take you to the General Settings page, where you can update various site-wide settings. Find the input field where you need to enter the value. Type Demo into this field to update the setting. After entering the value, scroll down to the bottom of the General Settings page and click the Save Changes button. This will save your new settings and update your site.
All right, so definitely some errors in that voiceover that was generated. Some point there was like talking over each other, which was a little bit weird. And then the video ends very abruptly. So let's just dig slightly deeper and see if we can fix those problems. So in my timeline, I actually have a layer for the AI voiceover. And if I click on this, I can change what the AI is saying and I can reposition it as well. So tons of flexibility here to really dial it in exactly as you want. It's not going to be perfect right out of the gates, but I'm very impressed that this exists in the way that it does. So one thing I'd like to do is probably just tighten up this beginning because there's a long delay before it actually even starts. So I can do that just by dragging my recording over. All right, and now my video starts right as the voiceover begins, which is way better than before where it had like a 3 or 4 second pause before anything started. And you're kind of like, is this playing? The captions look nice. I'm wondering, can I change the highlight color that's going through the different text? And at least at first glance here, it doesn't appear like I can. There's no options related to the subtitles. And even though the subtitles show up here, it doesn't give me any formatting, like I can't change the font or anything there. I can change my narrator, update the copy that they're saying, but I don't see any way to actually update anything else related to captions. So maybe a future feature they can add. All right, overall, I'm very impressed with this tool so far. It hasn't been flawless, but darn, it's pretty close. So let's see how we can actually share these images. Obviously with a video, you can just download it. I clicked download and it didn't give me any options. It just started rendering. So that was not what I'd like to see. If I click the disclosure triangle, I can choose between a video and a GIF. And let's see what happens. Can I get it to, no, once it starts rendering, it's at 20% now. It's going pretty quick, but there's no options. I thought I was gonna be able to set my resolution because I do believe that was part of the AppSumo deal. No, I must have imagined that. It doesn't mention anything about resolution here inside of the different tiers. So it looks like it's 1080p video exports, which is fine. That's all right for screen resolutions. 4K would be nicer, but as long as that zoom that they're applying is happening with the full resolution and they're just exporting at 1080p, I'm totally okay with that. Okay, so we saw exporting videos at 1080p quality. Now let's look at sharing tours or guides. So we'll go back into our project here. And under tour, I can click the share button right here. This will allow me to publish this, so I can just toggle it. And now I've got a website essentially that I can share. I've also got an embed code. So if you have a, knowledge base and you want to put these inside of your knowledge base, boom, just embed them. That's great. We can also export as a video or as a GIF, which might not work quite as well for things like tours or guides because the whole point is that people can step through on their own. Looks like my video just completed exporting, so I'll be able to check that out momentarily. Sharing guides looks very, very similar. The share sheet allows you to publish it. You get a website. There's a few other options here. You can share the guides inside of your text documents. So we've got I see Notion right here and Word. This must be Google Docs. The icon for that could be a little bit more clear. I can also share it as HTML or MDX, which is going to be like a markdown type of format. And then we can export the guides as videos and GIFs as well. There is some advanced settings for the video exports, by the way. This will apply to both tours as well as guides. You can set up basically the output, the frames per second, the annotations, the captions, add some background music if you like, choosing from their 6 songs, and then change the background color for the entire presentation. All right, so Layerpath, very, very impressive tool. I wish more of the features were in some of the lower tier plans. So you notice here the 3D effect and the animation that made our videos look very, very professional. Those are not included in tier 1 and tier 2. But I suppose if you're not doing a promo video, you don't really need that. And if you're doing a promo video, $250 for a promo video, very, very cheap. So, it just depends on how you look at things, what the perspective is. I didn't look at the custom domain. I do know that is available. Let's go ahead and check that quick before we wrap up the video. It's under settings, custom domain. And then I can set a public URL right here or a custom domain down below. And it looks like it's going to have some DNS settings to configure. So you could be, guides at yourcompanyname.com. That would look really cool. So yeah, to wrap things up here, tier 3, I think a very solid investment for product owners. If you have a WordPress plugin or a SaaS you're trying to promote, you can definitely create some great educational and promotional materials with this tool. If you're just trying to do some, knowledge base, communicate with your customers, I think tier 1 or tier 2 is going to be plenty for most people. I didn't really cover the playlist feature, but let's go ahead and just look at that real quick. Basically, what this is going to allow us to do is group our projects together inside of a category. So I can add a project here. Basically, it's a collection, right? So this would be my WordPress settings guides, right? And I could have a video about updating your username, about updating your homepage. I can add projects to it. And that way I can share a playlist that's all related to a singular topic. So playlist, really a cool feature. And that is something you need to take into mind because it's only available on tier 2. So yeah, I think the sweet spot for most people is probably going to be tier 2 unless you're doing promo videos, bounce it up to tier 3. Overall, very excited about this tool. Didn't expect to be quite frank. I didn't think it would be as good as it is. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an 8.6. You should probably pick this up if you communicate with people about how to use computers in any capacity. This kind of reminds me of GuideJar, a tool I reviewed about a year ago that was also on AppSumo, but just way, way more powerful and much more polished. So my name is Dave Swift. Thank you for watching. Leave me any comments or questions down below. If you need help with your website or online business, contact me at clientamp.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.